Today on Public Eye News, St. Patrick's Day Parade turns pandemic blues Irish green, and Steph Curry injures left foot in Warriors blowout loss to Celtics.
Later, Andrew Hoover will have your weather for the weekend, and Mitchell will be back with your sports update. Hi, I'm Scott Mitchell.
And I'm Mitchell Reif, and this is Public Eye News. In Lansing, Michigan, a key lawmaker said that the bills intended to fix a Michigan law that cut auto insurance payments have been terminated for the rest of the term. House Speaker and supporter of the 2019 law, Jason Wentworth, says that the laws were moving us backward towards the old status quo and putting these savings and refund checks at risk. Legislators from both parties have introduced plans to change the law, which affected what hospitals, residential care facilities, and home providers can charge for insurance. This law also made it optional to buy unlimited personal injury protection, which is a major reason why $400 per vehicle refunds are being issued to all insured drivers. And continuing in Michigan, a judge froze the pension of a former Detroit area prosecutor. Eric Smith was sentenced to prison for 21 months after pleading guilty to obstruction of justice during the investigation about how he spent his campaign donations. Not only did Smith's funds freeze, but also those of his chief of operations, Derek Miller. The money has been frozen in a pending embezzlement case that involves the misuse of drug and forfeiture funds in the prosecutor's office. Smith faces 10 counts and Miller faces 2 charges in the case. The Michigan Attorney General's office also said that Smith has been collecting funds and pension or benefit from the Macomb County Employees Retirement System.
Well, in another legal case right here in Michigan, a judge has dismissed eavesdropping charges against a Presque Isle County woman who was accused of eavesdropping at her child's school. The woman had previously complained that a history teacher at the school was, quote, too liberal, and claimed she was standing outside the superintendent of the school's office when she heard 2 school employees talking about her. She went on to record the conversation on her cell phone, after which she was banned from school property. According to the judge in the case, the scenario raises interesting constitutional questions. U.S. Senator Ron Johnson has called on mothers receiving public assistance such as welfare to begin staffing the child care centers attended by their children. The senator made the statement while on a telephone town hall meeting and also added that there are issues with the idea and it hasn't been fully explored yet. Other lawmakers have bashed the idea, saying it would only add to the current child care crisis while also punishing mothers and sending social statuses for women back in time. Thousands of refugees making their way out of Ukraine are going to great lengths to bring their furry friends with them. Volunteers are ready at the borders to help. Riley Carlson reports from London.
A few bags are all Jana Zelieva could bring with her when she escaped from her home in Kyiv to safety in Poland. Inside one of them, her treasured cat Zyka.
I think that's my son. I really love him and I never lost him in Kyiv.
More than 3 million people have fled Ukraine in the 3 weeks since the war with Russia began, more than half of them to Poland. That's where this shelter for stranded animals is set up. Some are street dogs, many are family pets left behind.
And sometimes with a letter, and with a ride, we hope we can find our dogs and cats again. I'm getting very emotional because this is very hard.
Other animals haven't even made it out. They've been dropped off at this shelter in Lviv, where volunteers are desperate to help.
If I can bring food here and take some animals back to safety, I can't stay at home.
At the border with Romania, animal rescue workers are handing out food and water, but also blankets for pets who've been battling the cold. They also help with vaccines and documents.
Big part of them are not remaining into Romania, but are going to other countries where they need papers.
Helping refugees like Jana and her family stay together as their country is torn apart. Riley Carlson, CBS News.
And don't touch that dial, because we'll be right back with your weather and national news after this break.
Coming up on Austin City Limits.
I'm gonna get it through to you. You're not alone. Saturday night at 11.
Send it back to.
Around the UP in Sault Ste. Marie, it is 46 degrees and sunny. In Manistee, 49 degrees and sunny. Escanaba, 53 degrees and sunny. Also sunny in Menominee, 55 degrees.
Go to camera one, anchor one.
All the way in Chicago, Jussie Smollett was released. After spending 6 days behind bars, he was released from jail after an appeals court agreed with his lawyers that he should be free pending his conviction for lying to police about a racist and homophobic attack. The appeals court ruling came after a Cook County judge was sentenced Smollett last week to immediately begin serving 150 days in jail for his conviction on 5 felony counts of disorderly conduct for lying to the police. Smollett maintained his innocence during the trial outburst immediately after the sentence was handed down and proclaimed a fear for his life going into prison and that he has nearly lost hope in the U.S. constitutional system. After a 2-year break, the St. Paddy's Day celebrations across the county are back after a 2-year hiatus. This is including one of the nation's largest celebrations in New York City, in hopes that the worst of the coronavirus pandemic might be over. The holiday is serving as a key marker in the outbreak's progression, and these parades celebrating Irish heritage happen to be among the first big public events to be called off back in 2020. We also have the South's largest St. Patrick's Day celebration that made a big comeback in Georgia this year. Irish immigrants and their descendants have held parades since 1824, and after 2 centuries, the holiday is the most profitable tourist attraction. And President Putin's invasion of Ukraine has led to suffering of his own people, including Russians who were overseas at the time, who are now trying to get home. Elizabeth Palmer met up with some of the thousands of Russians who are stranded in Phuket, Thailand.
Thailand's tropical beaches and turquoise seas don't look so much like paradise when you're running out of money with no way home. Max Kisilyov is one of thousands of Russians trapped here by fallout from the invasion of Ukraine. His bank card stopped working when US-led sanctions kicked in and Visa and MasterCard cut off Russian accounts. Then he and his partner, Artyom Sedov, found out that their flight, like most to Russia, had been canceled. How worried are you?
Kind of worried because this situation, we don't know what's going on. We just don't feel safe.
I'm scared to be in Russia and I'm scared to be here.
The resort island of Phuket has catered to Russian tourists for years. But the war has turned what should have been a vacation into a nightmare.
I'm worried for the future. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't figured out how we'll live. Just don't know.
Uliana Maligina got money from an ATM just before they stopped working, so she can still feed her girls in their rented house. But not everyone is so lucky.
I hear lots of stories, most of them are sad. Some Russians don't have cash, their cards are blocked, and they even don't have money to buy food.
Stranded Russians have set up an online help group with advice on flights and cheap rooms, and not only for themselves.
People here help both Russians and Ukrainians. It doesn't matter of the nationality. Russians help Ukrainians and Ukrainians help Russians.
Resort owner Toke Terkelson is offering desperate Russians free beds. Yeah. And they tell him things they won't or can't for their own safety say to our camera.
They're actually telling me that they should get rid of Putin, of course.
And what are they telling you about the war? Are most of them against it?
All of them against it. They're ashamed.
And for Artyom and Max, there's a discouraging message from family back home.
My mother says don't came to Russia.
Mine's the same. They feel not safe for me to be in Russia right now.
Hard words to hear from loved ones, but for as long as they can afford it, they've decided to stay put.
Well, first off, we'd like to apologize for those short technical difficulties we had just a little bit while ago. But stay with us because we have an update on Brittany Griner's detention in Russia and more sports stories from around the world after this short break.
Midwife calling. Hello, Nurse Franklin. Long time no see.
Call the Midwife is back.
No one's higher up in the nuns' fan club than me.
Amen.
They are the best of the East End.
I will go where I am summoned. I'm so glad you've asked for help.
May I introduce your daughter?
She's beautiful.
Sunday night at 8 on WNMU-TV.
And in the world of sports, we have a troubling story. A court near Moscow has extended the detention of one of the most recognizable players in the WNBA, Brittany Griner, until May 19th. She was detained at a Moscow airport, according to sources in mid-February. And Russian authorities said a search for her luggage revealed vape cartridges allegedly containing oil derived from cannabis, which can carry a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison. Griner has played in Russia for the last 7 years in winter, and she's also one of the dozen players who have played in Russia or Ukraine this past season. All except Griner have left since the invasion began. And the first-time free agent and Los Angeles Dodgers have agreed to a 6-year, $162 million contract for Freddie Freeman, according to a person who is familiar with the deal. This person spoke to the Associated Press on the condition of anonymity late Wednesday night because the deal had not yet been announced to the team. Freeman took over as a starter at first base following the year of his debut in September of 2010. Now he'll join former MVPs like Cody Bellinger, along with Tarcea Turner, Max Muncy, and Justin Turner. The lineup already was among the National League's best last year with 237 home runs and 5.12 runs per game. In San Francisco, Steph Curry went down late in the first half with an injury to his left foot after the Warriors' win against the Celtics. He was injured with 4:19 remaining in the second quarter, running along the sideline while scrambling for a loose ball as the Celtics' own Marcus Smart made a diving lunge play and landed on the scoring champion's leg. Smart got an earful from the Warriors coach Steve Kerr, and having coached Marcus in the past in the World Cup, he didn't like Smart's play and said that the coverage on Curry was really dangerous. But that's all the stories I have, and Scott might have some interesting stories for us today, too.
Well, yeah, Mitch, definitely staying in California, there are some interesting things going on. A man has now pleaded guilty to taking 2 baby bears from their bear den back in 2019. 29-year-old Cody Dylan Setzer of Sacramento originally told wildlife officers he had found the bear cubs on the side of the road. The officers became suspicious after portions of Setzer's story didn't make sense. And when investigated farther, Setzer admitted to taking the cubs from their den. The bears were brought to a wildlife sanctuary and eventually released back into the wild. Setzer has received over $2,000 in fines and has been ordered to complete 200 hours of community service. A Czech zoo has welcomed a baby eastern black rhinoceros, which they've named Kiev, after Ukraine's capital, to honor the resistance the country is giving to invading Russian forces. Zoo officials have stated the rhino is a rare and exciting addition to the zoo, as the species is extremely endangered. Only 3 other eastern black rhinos have been born in the zoo around the world in the last year, and only around 800 are living worldwide. As to the name, zoo director Prismo Rebos said it is just another way to express support for the Ukrainian heroes. Well, that is all the time we have for you here today on Public Eye News. On behalf of Andrew Hoover and the rest of the crew down here at PBS Channel 13, I'm Scott Minshaw.
And I'm Mitchell Reif.
Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow for another edition of Public Eye News.
The preceding program was produced by WNMU-TV, Northern Michigan University Public Television, in studios located in Elizabeth and Edgar Hardin Hall.